My name is B.A. Laris, and I am the principal investigator leading this team who's developed and tested Fantasy Sports Math League, which is a new game and learning resource to support middle school learners in an innovative approach.
And my name is Mia Barrett. I am an expert in integrating game-based learning and sports into STEM and math education.
And so we both work for Diffusion, where we are at the intersection of research, education, and design. I'm going to walk you through the full product developed through our Phase 1 and Phase 2 IES SBIR funding. This includes both the teacher portal and the student interface, so you can see how a typical use case flows from setup to weekly gameplay. This is the version of the product as it exists at the end of Phase 2. I'll point out some of the key features we built or improved during this phase, and I'll connect them back to what we heard from teachers and students during beta and pilot testing. Let's start on the teacher side. When a teacher logs in, this is what they see, their teacher dashboard. From here, they can set up their league, manage their student rosters, and configure the math settings for each week. I also want to point out a cool commercialization feature that we added at the end of Phase 2, our Teacher Sandbox. This gives teachers the chance to play around in FSML and see what the game looks like prior to committing to purchasing a subscription. It's a more robust way to experience a demo or a free trial. So the first thing a teacher does at the start of the season is to set up their league. They give it a name, set the number of teams, and most importantly, they choose the math format for their students. Right now, you can see the options: standard and advanced, decimals, or fractions. If teachers have a class that's mixed in terms of where students are, they can differentiate with a simple click of the button. This formula selector was one of our Phase 2 improvements. In Phase 1, teachers had less control over this. This feature is particularly important for our 7th and 8th grade teachers who are often using FSML in a STEM class or data analytics sports elective. We also heard consistently from teachers that they need to be able to tie the game directly to what they're teaching. So we built out this lesson plan bank and the formula progression options. Each lesson plan is tagged to NCTM standards and progresses through the gameplay elements. Teachers have lesson plans, grading rubrics, class PowerPoint presentations, student handouts, and a pacing calendar. The teacher can monitor student progress, see problem attempts, and also has the ability to reset student passwords, change a student team name, and award a redraft token. This was an important addition based on teacher feedback. It's a way to help keep students engaged if it turns out that the original team they drafted was not performing well, which would often lead students to disengage from the game. Several of our advisors who had talked about the importance of trades or being able to change players who had been injured or had stopped playing agreed that this is a graceful solution to equitably maintain engagement. Teachers can monitor which students have completed their draft, which have scored their team this week, and who may be struggling. From the student side, this is what a student sees when they log in the first time. After creating their team by selecting a name, a mascot, and team colors, the first major activity is the draft. Students pick their fantasy football team from real NFL players. Students are looking at real player stats, things like their average draft position and their draft value, which are pulled live from our Sports Data IO API, which gives current data, logos, and photos. Students are making decisions here. Who do I want on my team? How do I balance the best players in a limited budget? What factors do I need to consider to build a strong team? This is where the analytical thinking starts, even before the calculations. You can see the draft strategy piece. Students are looking at positions, recent performance, and making choices about how to build a balanced team. And this was something students loved. They can customize their team helmet on their dashboard by trading in their MVP points. It sounds like a small thing, but it was consistently mentioned in our iterative testing as something that increased investment in the game and inspired people to do those graphs to get extra MVP points. When it's your team, you care more. This is the core weekly activity. Each week, students come in and score their team. They're looking at real box score data from last week's games. How many yards did this running back get? How many touchdowns? And then they use the scoring formula the teacher has set to calculate their individual players and their team's total points. For each player, students are presented with an equation. The equation auto-populates from the box scores, and students are then required to solve the equation on their own and enter their response into the platform. They have to be sure to enter as a reduced fraction or mixed number. This is one of the Phase 2 features I want to highlight. If a student gets the answer wrong, it gives them a reminder or tip to help solve the equation. They have as many attempts as they need to solve it. They can't move to the next equation or the next phase until all of the math equations are solved. There are no penalties for multiple attempts to solve the equations, but there are bonus MVP points for getting all of the equations right on the first attempt. The leaderboard updates after scoring, and students can see both their fantasy team standing and their math accuracy ranking. Those are tracked separately, which reinforces the idea that doing the math well matters independently of how well you're doing in the football challenge with the players you drafted. The graphing feature was something a lot of students hadn't gotten to early in pilot testing. Teachers explained that graphing is a new concept for 6th graders and they needed to start slowly. As a result, we added more built-in graphs to help students get used to seeing graphical representations on the My Players page. This connects to the data analytics and standards around representing and interpreting data. To encourage reflection on data analytics, we built a more robust interface in the My Players page. Here, students can look at side-by-side data of their players and see directly how their performance impacts the team score and how decisions about who you add to your lineup can make a big difference in your overall score. These data provide the students and the teachers with more options for more advanced data analytics and reflections when they are ready for it. That's the full product as it stands at the end of Phase 2. The teacher setup and configuration tools, the student draft and weekly gameplay flow, the equation support, and graphing features. All of it is web-based, COPA and FERPA compliant, and works on Chromebook, desktop, or laptop with no installation required. Fantasy Sports Math League is currently available for purchase on a yearly subscription model for educators, schools, and districts, and also by individual seat in our National League for families who want a fun and playful learning environment for their children to learn and practice math if it's not offered through their school or after-school program. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and we look forward to talking with you more about the power of connecting math learning to real-world relevance through sports. www.fantasysportsmathleague.com